Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Ashley Talley. In today's deep dive conversation, I'm talking with Pritchard Strong. He is our producer for the Five on Your Side franchise. And Pritch, our day started with you calling me before 8:30 this morning and saying, I think I have the 6 o'clock lead.
Yeah, I got a tip this morning that there was an issue with environmental contaminants at Poe Hall at NC State, and that essentially that they were closing down the building because of the concern from these contaminants. There was a letter that apparently went out to faculty, staff, and students. At least that's what the headline reads on it. And that was forwarded to me, and a little bit more information saying that there was some concern about illnesses involving people who worked in the building, and that there was some serious concern surrounding that may be connected to this issue.
And what did the email or letter that you obtained say about what they were doing with the building?
So what they were telling me essentially was that they were closing the building today at 5 o'clock, today being Friday, November 17th, and that they would limit access until essentially Thanksgiving, and beyond that point, they would close it down. They had gotten preliminary testing back that showed PCBs, an environmental contaminant, cancer-causing chemical, during testing there, and they needed to close the building out of an abundance of caution to move forward with some more comprehensive testing of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we know sort of where their investigation was centered. Tell me about Poe Hall. What is this building used for? How old is it? What do we know about it?
So it was built in 1971. It's used with classrooms. A couple of different departments operate out of there. And, along with professors and offices and things like that. So there's a pretty good amount of people who circulate through that area, and some professors and staff who have worked there long term as well.
And it's education and psychology, part of their departments, I believe?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So we've had reporters there, obviously, all day today. And Shelley reported at noon that she saw people going in and out and gathering their belongings and picking up boxes and stuff. So from your understanding, that's what they were encouraged to do, the staff who works there? Yeah,
essentially they're going to restrict access starting at 5 o'clock on Friday, November 17th. So the doors are not just going to be open to anybody who needs to get in after that. You're going to have to contact the university to get access to the building past that point. It's going to be limited, and obviously there's some concern there. I mean, PCBs are cancer-causing chemicals. The EPA reports that PCB-containing building materials were used in schools and other buildings constructed or renovated between about 1950 and 1979, which falls right into when Poe Hall was built, again, 1971.
Do we know what was the impetus for them starting this testing, and if any other buildings were tested?
So officially, we don't at this point. We know that there has been testing going on here. We have heard, just kind of in our conversations with people, that concerns from people inside that building, who work inside that building, really kind of started this look at the air systems, the testing, things like that. Beyond that, we don't have a full official word from the university as far as how all this started, but they're saying they're closing it as a voluntary step. It's going to be challenging because right now they're going to have to change the classes and other things to remote, alternate formats. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment and a sudden adjustment for people for the rest of the semester.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Thankfully, we are toward the end of the fall semester for colleges anyway. But it must be really disruptive for the faculty who have offices there and obviously all the students who have classes there. So you work closely with Five on Your Side reporter Keely Arthur and photojournalist Richard Adkins. They've been kind of out on the streets contacting tons of people today and talking with lots of people. What has Keely learned so far?
Yeah, she's been making a lot of calls, talking to a lot of people connected to this building. She's spoken to a retiree who spent nearly 2 decades in Poe Hall, who said, classrooms, offices had black particles in the air. They tried to filter some of these particles out with cheesecloth, and it would really cake on that cheesecloth after like 60 days. That some of the complaints really didn't go too far. So there was some concern there from that employee. Another former NC State employee who worked at Poe Hall for about a decade basically said that when there was a renovation in there, a piece of floor fell on her desk. did not hit her. It landed on the desk. Black liquid apparently started dripping onto the desk. So it sounds like there have been some issues dating back years, some concerns from staff that, we don't know exactly how they were addressed. And we have to be really clear at this point. Whether people are telling us about links of illnesses and things like that, we can't confirm that at this point. These are people that have concerns about the air quality in the building, and that's completely justified. We just have to kind of be careful about that and linking those things. But certainly it sounds like there were some problematic issues in the building going on for potentially years, almost more than a decade that we've heard of.
That it was sort of well known amongst the faculty there, like, oh, watch out for kind of the health here.
Exactly.
We have been told of at least 2 current faculty members who have cancer, and we've reached out to them, I believe. But like you said, we recently did a documentary on PFAS and water in central North Carolina, and people who drink that water show higher levels of that and say that they know more people who have cancer than in other places. But just as in this instance, there's studies have shown links, but no, you can't really directly correlate time in a building with someone having cancer. I just don't think you can drill down that much.
And these things are difficult, right? Because it's not like you can just do a couple of tests and figure out in a few days or a few weeks even what is actually going on and whether these potential illnesses could be connected to what's going on in the building. We've had issues all over the state. Warren County with PCBs and issues there that cost millions, if not billions, I believe, of dollars to clean up and repair. I mean, you look out towards Charlotte and Huntersville and issues with eye cancer clusters out that direction that potentially are connected to coal ash in the ground. There are issues all over. And I mean, these types of things get studied for years and years and years. And with PFAS and the things that you're talking about, that is still something that is kind of being investigated, and there are more and more things that are being looked at in that area. So this could be something that's ended up going on for quite a while.
Coming up after the break, we'll talk more about the PCBs found in Poe Hall at NC State with Pritchard Strong. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Ashley Talley here talking with Pritchard Strong, our 5 on Your Side producer, who has been working since early this morning after getting a tip about PCBs found in an office and academic building at NC State today. Pritch, this news was delivered via email to those affected last night, Thursday night. It reminds me a little of last year and the year before, there was lead found in multiple UNC buildings. Lead, it's in a lot of old buildings too. I imagine the PCB stuff is as well. And you said it was found mostly, they were looking in airways and heating ducts and everything. I have heard you on the phone this morning talking to lots of places with acronyms. Can you tell me who's in charge of regulating these things, who tests? Who have you and Keeley reached out to learn more about this story today?
So we've kind of run the gambit a little bit. So we've reached out to NCDHHS to see what their role is, along with Department of Labor, who...
That's the Health and Human Services.
Yep, Health and Human Services, as well as the Department of Labor, who I believe does some of the air quality testing in the state. We've also reached out to the CDC, who directed us over to the EPA for some more of the PCB research and data.
I feel like we're in the military using all these acronyms.
It's a lot of them. It really is. But yeah, there are a lot of different agencies who kind of touch this investigation and what's going on. And there's going to be a lot more, you would have to imagine, coming down the road to try and figure out the source of this, how long has it been there, and who may have been exposed to it, because I think that's going to be kind of the thing. They're clearing the building out now. They're having people get out of there now. What is going to be the next step? Who else may they need to contact who has worked in that building who may not now? Who else are they going to need to maybe test or warn or say, you need to monitor your health in one way or another? So that's just kind of the forward-looking thing that I think there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of looking into as we kind of continue down this road.
Right. I mean, that building's been there 52 years. Hundreds of people have worked there for an extended period of time, I'm sure. We have Allie Ingersoll, our data reporter, also working on this. Do we know anything about the prevalence of PCBs in our environment in general?
In general, they were a little bit more prevalent in years past, and we have a couple of instances that were highlighted on WRAL.com inside this story, Warren County being one of them, which we kind of touched on briefly. There were some incidents where, they were essentially put out into the public or buried or put in different places that caused exposure. But I mean, they're much more documented and well known now. It's a little bit more rare in this day and age to have a case this large where you kind of discover there's a contamination and people potentially could be at risk.
One of our senior producers, Stephanie Beck, earlier sent me a list of about 30 of the buildings at NC State and when they were built, and all of them were between like 1950 and 1980. So potentially we're looking at multiple buildings that were built around the same time. Now, we don't know if any of them have the same issues or even if they've been tested, but it'll certainly be interesting to see what happens from here, as at UNC, they just found more and more and more because of the age of the buildings.
And that's a question that we're asking now is this the only building? Because we know that NC State has an air quality program where there are, people you can report to if you have concerns or issues. And, we're asking, is this the only building? Are there other buildings with similar or other issues? Things like that, trying to get a scope of other buildings, like you said, this age, built in this same time period, and whether other people may need to know if they could be at risk for exposure to PCBs or potentially something else.
Pritch, you and Keely and Richard work in a division we call 5 on Your Side. How do you think this story fits under that 5 on Your Side brand?
Well, I think it's giving people the knowledge and of what's going on. I mean, 5 on Your Side is by nature kind of consumer news, but at the same time, we want to give people a voice and give people all the information that we possibly can. And, when somebody trusts us enough to reach out to us directly, we want to take what they're saying seriously and try to go out and learn all that we can about it. And in this case, it turned into something that was really significant. It turned into something that obviously affects a lot of people, everybody in that building who uses it on a daily basis, who's used it for years, and potentially other people who have used it in the past who are no longer there. So, that's just one of the kind of, we do focus on some consumer and financials and stuff like that, but this is certainly one of those cases where this story was brought to us and it's turned out to be a pretty serious one.
Well, I think that what you all do every day is try to keep people safe, and this certainly falls under that. So thank you so much. I know that you guys will continue to follow on this story and bring us the latest.
Thank you.
That's Pritchard Strong, the 5 on Your Side producer at WRAL News. If you'd like to hear more episodes of WRAL Daily Download, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get podcasts. Once you follow our show, you'll automatically get new episodes every weekday. I'm Ashley Talley. Thanks for listening.